All right. Friendly reminder, on Monday, you have 11 through 20. We're doing a primary source. On Tuesday, we have 21 through 24 or something. It's a short week. And then you have your map and your primary are due on Tuesday. Wednesday, you have a test. It's going to be a 28-minute test. Focus and study. Guys, you finished in like 22 minutes. So, like,
How long do we have the AP exam?
No, because the questions are a little bit different. So, 28 minutes. We have more than enough time.
Okay.
So, please make sure that you are prepared. This week, obviously, you're focused on your spice. You saw it's definitely not like last week, which is grateful. Just a fun fact. I decided to look at a couple of things. You only have, after this week, 5 more spices. There's only 5 more weeks of new content. That's it. You have 6 weeks of review.
And they're like 3 writing weeks?
Yeah, we got like a bunch of writing weeks thrown in there too.
Why do I like that?
That's not good.
It's so exciting. So, it is important. No.
My bone's not in the way.
No, you got a Barron's book. So, you only have 5 more spices after this week. Keep that in mind. You're almost to one hand, and then you're done. Complete satisfaction. So much so that you could even bring in your textbook to my classroom because you're never going to look at it again once we finish the 5 weeks of content. Now, in that 5 week, we actually have 7 weeks to go because we have a writing week in 2 weeks and then a writing week after the final week. And then we start review. But, hi, 60% of your exam is essays. So how are you going to pass an exam if you can't write an essay? So we practice. What? What, Jackson? We go, the last thing I really cover is something that happens in 2010.
What's that?
What is it?
It's legislation for climate change.
That's awful.
Oh, jeez. So, the beginning of my lecture today does not start off fun. The last part, we're going to kill like 4 million Russians by their own idiocracy. So, it's going to be good. So, bear with me with the Ottomans. We're going to kill a bunch of Ottomans, so that's pretty cool. But it's going to be a little slow to start. I'm sorry, but we're just going to start killing tons and tons of people every day. So, here we go. So, the Ottomans in decline. We all know that the Ottoman Empire, who can raise your hand and tell me what year was the best year to be an Ottoman? Because you conquered something no one else has conquered. Catherine.
1453.
And what did they conquer in 1453? Oh,
Constantinople. Oh my God, it's the same thing.
no, it's not.
It's a city in that empire. It was.
No,
No, Roman Empire.
No, Holy Roman Empire doesn't even get close to Constantinople. Have we done anything this entire year? Anyway, so Ottoman Empire is going to reach its peak of its military in the 17th century. That's going to be it. It's going to start a very sharp decline after it. Now listen, you don't need to write everything, okay? The reason Ottoman Empire collapses, there is massive corruption, which means the government is doing whatever the hell the government wants and doesn't really care about normal people like you and I. Okay? They misuse tax revenues. They're not using their money and reinvesting it into the country. They've got a party problem. They like throwing lavish parties for themselves and not using it to improve their citizens' lives. Okay? Janissaries. Who can raise their hand and tell me what a janissary is? What do we got, Abby?
They took Christians and put them in respect them.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing for Christian boys?
Bad. Well, it made them respect them.
There you go. They're going to be considered the elite warriors in the empire, janissaries. Well, the janissaries are going to tarnish their own reputation because they're going to get caught up in palace intrigue. Can anyone raise their hand and tell me what palace intrigue is? We've talked about it before. Right now, we have a bunch of palace intrigue right now with Donald Trump. And have we heard of the Stormy Daniels character? People are... Where the hell have you people been?
My house. Story Daniels on
Well, when you find out her profession, it will make sense. No. Okay? So, the fact that we're not sure if Donald Trump paid off Stormy Daniels or not paid off, that's palace intrigue. So, what is palace intrigue? Henry.
Like, cheating on your wife? You're a porn star?
No, Henry, thank you.
Is that on the recording?
Yes. This is really going great. This is going great. It started with me saying, oh, I only know curse words. And then we're talking about, anyway. Okay, palace intrigue is when there's a lot of drama going in with the government and no one's really sure what's happening, what's true, what's not true, and all that stuff. I think we can agree there's a lot more palace intrigue in the Trump White House than there was in the Obama White House, correct? Was there?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, every day there's something falling out of the White House, and everyone's like, ooh, look at this. Let's talk about this today, correct? So, palace intrigue. What's happening in the Ottoman Empire is the government's being completely sidetracked by all this drama as well. That's why a lot of people saying the Trump White House isn't getting as much done because they're dealing with all these dramas all the damn time, okay? So, they're going to start losing a lot of territory. The Ottoman Empire is going to start physically collapsing. Now, this is going to play a very big thing here later on. It starts collapsing. Remember, the Ottoman Empire used to reach all the way to the Swiss Alps, which is really far into Europe, and it's starting to come back. Okay. We also have nationalism. So the Ottomans have owned Greece for like 250 years at this point. The Greeks are experiencing nationalism. What do the Greeks want? What do the Greeks want? I think I'm done with you today, Henry. Kira. Yeah, who do they want in their government? Greeks. Yes, they're Greek people, and they want Greek in their Greek as their government, not a bunch of Ottomans. So this whole thing is we start having nationalism kick into it. Okay. Napoleon. Side note: Napoleon tries to invade Egypt, doesn't go well, which is a good thing for the world because everyone believes that if he got Egypt, he would have successfully invaded Russia. Who knows what would have happened? Okay. So when we talk about the Ottoman Empire, this is the map you guys did yesterday on the front. Okay, look how expansive it is. Eventually, it's just going to be shrunk down to what modern day country? Turkey. Absolutely, it's going to be shrunk down. So that's how significant this is going to plummet here pretty quickly. So the Ottoman economy, you need to put a big star. It does not industrialize. Okay, you cannot be a power in period 5, which is the modern age, okay, without industrializing. The Ottoman Empire never industrializes. Why doesn't the Ottoman Empire industrialize? A, they don't have the resources, and B, they're making money, they're buying cheap goods, so they never have that need. Because they're buying cheap goods and not industrializing, they're lower class. Are they doing well or worse? Worse. And that's going to cause a lot of riots and stuff like that. Okay, they can't pay off. They're going to take loans out from Western powers because since they're not industrialized, they're not building, they're not selling items, so they have no money in their economy, so they're taking out loans from Western powers. They cannot pay. You need to write this down. This is a very big reason why they're going to fall. Okay, they take out loans from Western powers. They cannot pay those Western powers back, so they do capitulations. Okay, they do capitulations, which is spelled out right there for you. Okay, what that means is the Ottoman Empire says, hey, England, I know I owe you $100 million. Oops, I can't pay you back, but how about I say you can sell everything you want here in the Ottoman Empire. No taxes, no duties, nothing. You can do whatever you want. Would England say yeah or no? They're going to say, hell yeah, no duties. They're not industrialized. The demand for English goods is going to be off the chart, right? It's a good thing for England. It's a terrible thing for Ottomans. So think about it. So have you heard on like the news they talk about like the debt ceiling every once in a while? Yeah? Okay. Well, we owe $3 trillion to China. Guess what we don't have? $3 trillion to hand to China. So guess what happens if China knocks on the door and is like, hey, U.S., you owe me some money. The United States is going to say, and one of the biggest fears is that we will give China a capitulation, which could be, hey, China, how about you sit in the Oval Office with Trump, and you can tell Trump what you like and what you don't like, and we'll say that's worth $1 trillion. And China's going to be like, oh, hell yeah, that's worth $1 trillion. So they are sitting in the White House with Trump and saying, oh, that's good for China, do that. Oh, that's not good for China, don't do that. Do we as Americans want that to happen? No, that's why capitulations are so dangerous, which is why when people start freaking out about the debt ceiling, eventually China is going to knock on our door and say, hey, U.S., you owe us money, you better start, paying up. We can't pay right now. We don't have enough money, so we're afraid, the big fear is the capitulations. We're going to have to give them something to compensate for the lack of payment, and this is what's going to cause the end. Okay? So, we're going to have Sultan Selim III. You're going to want to write his name down. Sultan Selim III tries to reform the military. Fails because the Janissaries won't let it happen. Okay? Fails because the Janissaries don't want it to happen. Why would the Janissaries not want the military to be reformed? Well,
Because they won't be like important anymore.
yes, absolutely. They're going to lose their status as the most important people, correct? They've had that status for about 400 years. They want to keep that status, correct? Okay? It's tradition. So what the Janissaries do is they revolt, they kill all the other troops, and they kidnap the Sultan. And they trap him in a house. And they say, you're not doing that. And he's like, okay, I'm not doing that. And they hold him hostage for the rest of his life. When his son comes into power, Sultan Mahad II, you're also going to need to know his name. When Sultan Mahad II comes into power, guess what he does to all the Janissaries?
Kills them.
Oh, yeah. And he does it in, like, the most, okay, not Kim Kardashian extra, but, like, crazy. That was so catty yesterday. Did you see that?
What you do?
Yes! That girl. I mean, I'm a little salty, but, like, damn.
She gave that.
She posted pictures of everyone she hates and how she's sending them all this stuff for Valentine's Day. It's like so extra. Anyway, so what he does is he invites all the Janissaries to a mosque and says, let's pray together, then we'll overcome. And all the Janissaries show up because they're like, you don't kill people in mosques. So we'll go. Let's talk it out. Let's figure it out. Guess what he does? He locks the doors of the mosque. Guess what they do?
Kill it down.
They kill all the Janissaries. Wipe them all out. It's pretty effective. Okay? So, kills all the Janissaries. However, he also starts reforms. He reforms school taxation, even builds the first telegraph in Eastern Europe, and postal service. But what is he not starting to do? Industrializing. So, Ottoman Empire is never going to industrialize. When they go into World War I to fight on Germany's behalf, they're riding camels. And they're using swords. That's sad. Because why? They don't have the guns. They can't produce the gunpowder. They don't have factories, so they can't go in. Okay. So Jackson, did you have a question already? Okay. So what?
Why don't they just outsource for that kind of thing?
What? Like buy the guns from other
Yeah.
people? Guess what they don't have?
Money.
And is England gonna give them money to buy weapons to shoot British people? Yeah, they already did. They're government. And that government's gone now. All right, to the boards. Let's go. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what are the names of Christian boys forced into the military but will eventually increase their reputations? What do we got, Jackson? Janissaries. Who tries to remove the Janissaries' position of power and influence in the military? This will eventually get him kidnapped and held hostage for a long time. Who is it, Timmy? Who is eventually going to kill all the Janissaries and eventually start doing some reforms? It isn't a movie. Who is it, Evelyn? Mahad II. On your whiteboard, please tell me. No, we're good. I gotta go. All right, here we go. So, after Mahad II dies off, okay, so Mahad II is going to start all of these reforms, okay? He dies in 39, okay? The Tanzimat reform era begins. You're going to want to write that down. It's a very big thing. It's going to be on your AP exam. The next couple things are definitely going to be on your AP exam. Tanzimat era is a big thing. That's the key word. That's like your evidence. Okay, so the Tanzimat era is from 1839 to 1876. Keep in mind, during this time, we're fighting the American Civil War, correct? 1861 to 1865. We're dealing with the pre-issues and the post-issues during this time period. So America is in production. We're doing our thing here. So keep in mind your parallels here. So they're drafting new law codes. What is the most popular law code in the world, even today? Napoleonic Code. They're going to draft that, which makes all citizens equal and makes what? What is the other major thing? All men equal, not women. Like, come on. Why would we want to vote or say in our government? That's stupid. What's the other thing, Henry? Religious freedom. Now, why is that a big deal in the Ottoman Empire? Why is religious freedom a big deal in the Ottoman Empire, Camden? Okay, we have the Janissaries, which they're targeted because of their religion. But why else, Jackson? Yeah, of course. They're a huge Muslim population, correct? They're very proud. There's a lot of ties to it. So, obviously, this whole pushing back and trying to create a secular government is not going to go well with your religious right, correct? Your conservative religions. Because do they lose power or gain power if that happens? Lose power. No one likes to lose power, so they're going to fight back. The people who want more reforms, okay, like the young Ottomans, the radical reform, they're going to be pissed off because it's not extreme enough. So the Tanzimat era is going to be a bunch of change, but it's going to start drawing some major issues. So after the Tanzimat era in 1879, we start a second era, and you absolutely need to know this name. It's called the Young Turk era. Now the Young Turks start in 1876. Okay, what they do is they stage a coup. Who can raise your hand and tell me what a coup is? We've talked about it. Abby. They overthrow the government. Who's usually doing it? Who's usually doing it? Will. Not Will, Karen. Hold on. It's usually military. This is going to be a political coup. So is that unique? Yes. Yes. It's a political coup. What is the most famous coup in history? It's in period 2. Think about period 2. It's a massive empire. You've heard of it well before me. What? Gets killed? Oh, okay. That would technically be a military coup. But when Julius Caesar takes over, right? He comes back with his military from France. Well, from Gaul. Comes in and takes over. That's the largest military coup. Anyway, so what they do is they have a coup. And they install Abdul Hamid II as Sultan. They take out Mehmed II and they install Abdul Hamid II. Now they're radical, which means they want a constitution. They want a representative government. So when Abdul Hamid II gets on the throne, guess what he does? He creates a constitution. He creates a representative government. Okay? And he does these things for a year. And then he's like, you know what? I don't get to have much fun with a constitution. Okay? I would like to not have a constitution. So what he does is abolishes the constitution after a year of being on the throne. Who put him on the throne? The Young Turks, who wanted the constitution and who wanted the representative government. After a year of being on the throne, he's like, well, I'm Sultan now. I don't need them anymore, so I'm going to do whatever the hell I want. So what he does is that he organizes all of the liberals, all the radical Ottoman Young Turks, and he either exiles them, which means they can't come back in the country, or he executes them. So in Paris, they create the Ottoman Society for Union and Progress, also known as the Young Turk Party in Paris. So they're trying to regroup. So we successfully had a coup. We put a new sultan that we liked on the throne, which is pretty impressive. Okay, that guy screwed us. Okay, he did what we wanted and then went back on it. He screwed us. Let's try it again. So what they do is they do another coup. This is their second political coup. They kill our boy Abdul Hamid II, and they put on the throne for the second time Mehmed Rashid. Okay, Mehmed Rashid is put on by the Young Turks. Pretty cool. Isn't that pretty crazy? We don't think that's crazy? Mehmed Rashid. He's on the bottom. So they just thrown him after, yeah, isn't that crazy? So pretty successful. Guys are really impressed. This will be on your AP exam because it's cool. You don't think it's cool?
I think it's awesome.
Do you mean it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the Young Turks are officially in power. Okay. They failed with the first guy. They're going to be very successful with the second guy. So what they're going to do, remember they're radical. So they're going to force everyone in this big Turkish empire, this big Ottoman empire, to speak Turkish. And keep in mind, if China came in and took over us, okay, or say for instance, did you know we only voted for, here in the United States, official language once? Do you know what language was one vote away from winning? No. Mandarin, no. German. We were one vote away from speaking German. So what happens if Donald Trump today was like, you know what? We only voted for official language once. Why don't we just all speak German? About 150, 170 years ago, we almost got German. So why don't we speak German today? How would we respond to this?
Be like, no, thank you.
No, thank you. That's exactly how the population of the Ottoman Empire was like, hell no, I'm not speaking Turkish. Only a third of the entire empire spoke Turkish. Now they're forcing everyone to speak Turkish. And everyone's like, hell no, we're not doing this. And that's going to piss off a lot of people. And even with all their reforms, their attempts, they didn't do what? They didn't industrialize because they just don't have the money to industrialize. It's going to decline. It officially declines in 1917. Officially declines in 1917 with the collapse because they picked Team Germany in World War I. Mostly because they hate the British, because who had the most influence in the Ottoman Empire? The Britain, because of what? Yes. Yes, Anne.
Didn't they have lots of oil?
Oil, they weren't drilling. They didn't have the machines. And the British didn't know it yet. They're going to find out real quick. Because in 1819, during the war, someone made a mistake. Someone was drilling a well, and they hit oil. So guess what? After World War I, where does everyone want to be? The Middle East. Have you ever wondered why everyone in the Middle East hates each other? Hello? Why Iran and Iraq hate each other? Why Afghanistan and Iran hate each other? Why Syria hates Iraq? The reason is because those boundaries aren't the natural boundaries. Those boundaries were drawn by who? Europeans and America. We were in control of Afghanistan for a very long time, which is why the Afghanis hate who more than anyone? Because after World War I, to the victors go the spoils, correct? Guess who got Afghanistan? Guess who drilled all the oil and started stealing all the oil from their country? Yes, because to the victors go the spoils. So once we find out in the middle of World War I that there is oil there, after the war, we divide up the Middle East. We draw the boundaries the way we want them. If you notice, most of them are straight lines, pretty straight lines, or they're hitting rivers and stuff like that. That's why. Before then, they didn't know. All right, Russia. I like Russia way better than the Ottomans. Here we go. So Russia is a hot damn mess. Okay, and I love it. Okay, so Russia. I don't know if you know, Russia's huge. Are you writing that down like you didn't know Russia was huge? Okay, good. I hope you knew that Russia was huge. Okay, now, when you think of Russians, what do you think they look like? Yeah, they're white people with what colored hair, Jackson? You don't think of like blonde Russians?
I think dark,
Yeah,
long
I
beards.
think dark for guys
I think
and
I
like
like
black
this
for
big ass.
girls.
This is gonna be salt. I'm thinking of her like dark hair, right? Yeah. Okay. You'd like that movie.
Anyway, can we all agree? If maybe they're not blonde, they're at least pasty white?
Yes.
Okay. Actually, only 1/3 of Russia is actually like white. 2/3 of it are Asian. Asian. Why? 2/3 of Russia's in? Yeah. So, when you think Russia, it is completely multicultural. They've got Jews, they've got Muslims, they've got Christians, we've got Greek Orthodox, we've got a little bit of Romans, which is really weird. We got some straight up gypsies. It's a hot damn mess of people. Okay? So, the Romanovs are going to come into power after who leaves power in Russia? Mongols. Yes, remember the Mongols fall? Mongols fall. And then the Romanovs come into power. Who is the most powerful Romanov we've discussed? He's so great.
Alexander.
She said great, like emphasize. So I thought that's what you were trying to-
Alexander the Great's one empire, Rebecca. Don't say sorry. What empire is Alexander the Great? Greek. He's Greek. So what period is he in? 2. What period are we in right now? 35. So it's not Alexander the Great. It is. The Great is the hint, people. Timmy. Peter the Great. And Peter the Great started what city? Timmy? No, St. Petersburg.
Petersburg.
Yeah, St. Petersburg.
Isn't that like Anastasia?
Romanovs, yeah.
Yeah,
But we
okay.
haven't got to her yet. We're going to kill her probably next week.
It's like doing the Russians.
No, I think 2 or 3 weeks after writing week. We're going to kill her. All right, here we go. So, Tsar is autocratic. What does that mean, Matthew, if they're autocratic? No. The Tsar is autocratic. Remember, Tsar is king in Russian. What does that mean? All powerful, absolutely. He can do whatever the hell he wants. He can look at Matthew and say, if Matthew is our king, he can look at Abby and say, I don't like pigtails. Dead. And she dies. Well, why did you kill Abby? She's a really young lady. And Matthew's going to be like, oh, did you see her pigtails? They were dreadful. I'm done with it. Okay, and then he's going to look at Will, and he's like a Bucks fan. Terrible choice. Dead. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Okay, so can the Tsars. Now, it's important that you need to know that the nobles in Russia don't pay taxes. Only poor people in Russia pay taxes. How well do you think that's going to go over? Terribly, absolutely. And they're going to have serfdom still. Who can raise their hand and tell me what's serfdom? Someone I haven't spoken to. Michael, thank you for volunteering. When do we talk about serfs? What government system do we have serfs in?
Oh,
Oh my God, people. I've already talked. Sophie! Feudalism! We have serfs. And what makes a serf different than a slave?
Like they have like a little bit of rights, some slaves like that.
Okay, like what's their right? What are serfs' rights? What is their serf's right? Kiara? There you go. Okay, they're tied to the land. They're not owned by the people. So you can marry and have babies with whoever you want on your little piece of land. Slaves, do they have that choice? Yeah, they're going to mate the strongest man to the strongest female, and then to that they're forced to have children and stuff like that. That's how that works. So, Russia. So the Crimean War is a huge turning point in history on many different fronts. Put a big star next to it. You need to understand this war because the modern age is shaped by the Crimean War. Okay, have you ever wondered why Russians hate everyone in the West? They don't trust anyone in the West? This is the beginning of that issue. So the Crimean War. So the Ottoman Empire is crumbling, correct? We just talked about how it's getting smaller and smaller. The military is incredibly weak. So the Russians are standing up in Russia and they're like, huh, they're losing power. We should take it. So what they do is they take their soldiers and they go down and they take the Caucasus Mountains, which is in between Turkey, modern-day Turkey, and Russia. It's in between the Caspian Sea and the Mediterranean Sea. Yes? In the Black Sea? Yeah? Cool. Okay. Anyway, so the Russians go down and say, mine. And all of Western Europe is like, the Russians just claim territory outside their regions? You're not allowed to do that after who went through and destroyed all of Europe? Napoleon. So Napoleon is, after Napoleon crumbled, okay, what document did everyone sign saying they were going to have state sovereignty? Westphalia, very nice. Treaty of Westphalia says you're not allowed to engage and attack other countries. So what does Russia do? They invade the Caucasus Mountains and add it to their territory. So England and France are like, hey, they're cheating. They broke the treaty already. So England and France go to the Caucasus Mountains and start fighting Russians. Who's industrialized? Who is not industrialized? The Russians show up on horses and swords. The Germans and the the French and the English have guns, and they defeat the Russians in about 25 minutes of fighting. Are the Russians proud people, or are they going to take it right off the chin? No big deal. Hello? They're very proud people. So they're going to spend the next 150 years trying to get this victory back. Okay? So they're like, hot damn, we got rocked. This isn't good. So the Russians go back to Russia, and they're like, we just got rocked. We have to do something about this. This is embarrassing. So what Tsar Alexander II does is, with no thought, says, I'm freeing the serfs. Now, who can tell me, when did Western Europe free their serfs? What period? Let's start there. Hold up your fingers and tell me what period were the serfs freed in Europe. I need all the fingers up. Here we go. I got a lot of wrong answers. Two. The answer is 3. What ends feudalism in Western Europe? That started feudalism.
Oh, Crusade.
Nope. Why were the Crusades ended? No. They still need food. Michael! The plague! How does the plague end feudalism, Michael? Yeah, I'm out, man. You can't pay me, you can't protect me, I'm out. So they leave. The plague ends 400 years earlier in Western Europe than it does in Russia. So for 400 years longer, what are the Russians depending on? 400. Our country hasn't even been around for 400 years. Imagine if Western Europe is moving forward beyond serfs. How far behind is Russia? Like, comically behind. Like, have you ever wondered why the Russians are a little off? Yeah? They don't really fit into Western politics. There's a lot of mistrust, all that stuff. The reason is because who held on to them for a really long time? The Mongols, correct? Then when the Romanovs come to power, there's really not a ton going on, so they just keep it the way it was, which is feudalism. So Alexander II is like, oh my God, we got to do something. Look at us. We just got our butts kicked. Okay, this is embarrassing. He's like, no one in Western Europe has serfs, so I'm going to get rid of our serfs. In 1861, the year the U.S. Civil War begins, Russia is giving away, emancipating its serfs. So we're fighting over slavery. Our country has been around for about 100 years at this point. Keep that in mind. And they're getting rid of their serfs for the first time. Well, so if, say, for instance, Gabby is our noble, okay? So all of us have been freed. Gabby can only afford to keep 1/3 of her people. So you guys got jobs. So Gabby's now going to be able to pay you. So good for you. You're going to continue to eat and feed your family. You guys, no noble anywhere can afford to hire you. What are you going to do with your time? What are you going to do? Kill the government. No, most of you are going to die. 2/3 of you are going to die of starvation. So, sorry. You're dead. Sorry. What are you going to do?
Start our own business.
How? You have no money. You have no skills except to farm, and no one will hire you.
Yeah, well,
Oh, you think banks are giving people like you loans? Nah.
well,
You're going to go to crime. You're going to turn to a life of crime. There we go. No, we're not killing the government yet. So, would we say this is... Yeah, we're going to do it in 1917. We're still about 30 years away. Okay? So, is this a good plan or a terrible plan? Terrible plan. No one has any idea what to do. He's like, everyone's free. What is not really being grown? Food. What does everyone have nothing of? Food. And then people don't have jobs who didn't die of starvation. You guys are all dead. But you guys, you have no food, you have no job, you have no homes, and they're just like wandering around Russia. Does this help the problem or make it worse? Worse. To the boards, here we go. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of the first gentleman the Young Turks put into power? No, there's no Salim yet. Good, who is it? What do you got? Natalie. Sorry, my darling. You know I know who you are. All right. With Abdul Hamid II, he puts in two major changes that the Young Turks wanted for the first year. What are those two big changes? Do you not see what we're doing? Evelyn. There you go. However, after a year, he doesn't do his job, and he cancels everything. Eventually, they're going to replace him with what dude? What do we got, Benji? There you go. Now, while the Young Turks are in exile, they call themselves the what? You know, you could give me the long fancy thing, or you could give it's new. There we go. Good. I got one. You can give me a big long one, or you can give me a short one. What is it, Tanner?
Young Turk Party.
Young Turk Party. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of the ruling class, ruling family in Russia? What is the name of the ruling family in Russia post-Mongols? It's the whole time through. It's pretty damn impressive. And it's who, Rebecca? Romanovs. Absolutely. Goodbye.
Are we gonna learn about I'm terrible or
We already went by him. He was in 4.
Oh, we did?
He's not that